All right. So welcome everybody. This is episode 8 of Carthritis now. CDM is done, and we just released the monster mammoth episode from the Super Mario Kart World Championship. I don't know what you call it. Roundup, recap.
Sure, that works.
Tons of information, and yeah, that was a good. I was close to 4 hours, I think, before Joe cut it down to size to just the 3.
Yeah,
Kudos to Joe.
two hour and a half parts. So yeah, there's a lot of information in both those episodes for sure.
Yeah, basically, if you have any question about Super Mario Kart or especially the World Championship, that's where you want to check it out. So let's get to it. The introduction this time. Joe, you're going to start us off, and I want to know things you waste your time with on YouTube.
Okay, well, I am Joe Reinreb, and things I waste my time with on YouTube, on the top of my head, would probably be bad political stuff, because that seems to be all the rage here in the States. So, yeah, I waste a lot of time with that.
Could you be a bit more specific, like bad political stuff, just people talking about debates?
It's mostly, I like the Rubin Report. I watch a lot. Steven Crowder. Basically stuff that's kind of like against the norm, I would say. There's a huge political shift happening here in the United States, and I don't exactly want to keep on top of it, but it kind of entertains me from time to time to see like the outrageous points of view that people kind of have on YouTube. So it kind of entertains me a lot.
All right.
It's kind of funny you should ask that. I just watched the Goose video, but I wouldn't call it wasting time because it's very entertaining content. I do watch a lot of science videos, like scientific debates about physics or just very big questions trying to be answered by science established scientific professors. I also watch a lot of football videos like Ronaldinho compilations, Messi compilations, that stuff. I waste a lot of time doing that.
Right.
But it's enjoyable. And everyone goes through that. Like they sometimes have an evening and they just keep on clicking the related link or just letting autoplay take over.
Yeah.
Before you know it, 2 hours are gone.
The YouTube maelstrom.
Yep, the rabbit hole.
So definitely victim to that sometimes.
Right. So you're up, Ryan?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I don't really consider myself wasting time on YouTube. I just pulled up my stats, my time watched. In the past week, I've spent 17 hours and 4 minutes watching YouTube, which is a daily average of 2 hours, 26 minutes. So daily average. And, wow, it says there's tools on the YouTube app that say, remind me to take a break, which I have turned off. But, I think partly because, I'm making videos myself, I'm trying to build a channel myself, I don't consider it time wasted because I consider it kind of like learning what other people are doing, what works for them, all that kind of stuff, right? So, I'll watch some of the bigger YouTubers like PewDiePie and Phil DeFranco and sometimes Drama Alert and all this kind of stuff and see what's going on. And I just don't think it's a waste of time for me, It's what I do.
I wouldn't really consider it a waste of time either if it's only 2 hours of your day. That's not really that bad. Because I'll spend a whole workday, like 8 hours worth, just listening to podcasts like Joe Rogan, and he's got 3-hour shows, so that's not really time wasted.
No, exactly, and it's like 2 hours a day. So okay, I don't really play video games right now at all. I don't watch TV. So if that's like what I'm, if that's my wasted time of the day, then that's it. That's not too bad.
Oh, that's fine. That's like one movie or a couple of episodes of a show. That's whatever.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
All right, so my name is Sargoth or Marius. You know the jingle.
Marius talks about
Marius!
okay.
I tend to waste a lot of time watching, sort of political debates, but regarding religion. So atheism, science versus theologians, stuff like that. I kind of wish I did like Ryan here and pull out some stats, but I'm too afraid. I don't think I want to know the answer. A lot of time spent on that. I just spent 4 hours the last 2 days watching Jordan Peterson debate Sam Harris. It was released by Pangburn University or whatever it's called. I couldn't pull myself away. Just watching two elderly men debate about God or not.
Do you watch any Penn Jillette videos by any chance?
Yeah, I've seen a few.
Yeah, I kind of like where he's coming from. He's got that libertarian attitude to him.
Yeah, he is used as an example by atheists quite a lot because he does so he's an outspoken atheist, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And he does magic tricks.
He does.
So they kind of juxtaposition the illusion with the religion. So you can be baffled by the magic and say, "Oh, how did he do that? That's not possible." But you know it's fake, even though it seems real. And that's sort of the image people tend to give religion. Anyway, that's yeah.
Shout outs to Christopher Hitchens, by the way.
Always,
those
yes.
type of videos, he is like.
All right, I guess that's it for the introduction. Bring it over to the news. So, Carol, do you want to start off with the Mario Kart 64 and Double Dash?
Oh right.
Matches?
Yeah. So there was it's the speedrun.com Twitch channel, which until today I'm afraid to admit I did not know existed, but it's very interesting. They had an MK64 speedrun race and an MKDD speedrun race, and interspersed was the YouTube video by Salmoning Salt about Mario Kart Wii.
Shoutouts.
Ultra shortcut development through the years. And all in all, it was a very entertaining Mario Kart blog. So MK64, it was basically the best two speedrunners in the world, Matthias Rustenmeyer and Beck Abney. They were commentated by Mark Jones and Andrew Weatherton, who did an excellent job. Unfortunately, Mark Jones lost his connection like 3 or 4 times in the process, but it didn't really hurt anything because they still did a very good job. The race itself, it was the non-skip category because I think they wanted that format because it tends to lead to closer races. Like with shortcut, if you miss one, an important one, then there tends to be like big gaps immediately between the two racers. And non-shortcut is less like that. And the race reminded me a little bit of Senna versus Prost in Formula 1 in the 90s. Where Abney played the role of Senna, doing the faster driving, getting the best lap splits, just pulling out the spectacular stuff. And Matthias was just being super solid in the Prost role, as you would expect from him, right? Because he's very consistent. That's what he's known for. So, barring Toad's Turnpike, actually, where he hit an uncharacteristic amount of traffic. So, at that point, Abney was in the lead, but eventually Choco Mountain happened, and Abney actually fell back in the ravine back on the road at the beginning of the lap, which is the worst crash you can do in this entire run, I believe. So he lost like 15 seconds there, and after that it was an uphill battle for him. And Matthias not really making any mistakes and getting good RNG on top of it. He had like a bunch of mushrooms that he could cut grass with. So in the end, the difference was, I think, a little less than 10 seconds. At Rainbow Road, so it was still a good race.
Yeah, so Abney did manage to make up some time after that initial horror.
He pretty much only really lost it on Choco Mountain. And without Choco Mountain, he would have the better average course time, I think. I wouldn't be surprised.
Was Matthias aware of Beck Abney's mistake?
This I do not know. Because they had a post-match interview, but Matthias didn't get his mic to work. So it's definitely European audio tech. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because that would influence his driving, right?
Yeah. And Beck actually commented on the Choco Mountain crash that and I recognize this because I have also done this myself during tournaments, is that he played it too safe. and then he doesn't have muscle memory developed for playing it safe.
Yeah.
So he did a slow MT and he bumped into the mountainside, which spit him back out, and then he crashed, fell back. So it was interesting. And then after that we had the double dash all cups with the world champion and world record holder of the all cups category, Goomba NL, versus Optimistic Emo, the American who is ranked number 3 at the moment. And it was a bit of an uneven race because I think from the get-go pretty much Goomba has been in the lead and did not give the lead away. He started really on fire. For example, the first 3 blue shells that went his way, he dodged all 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to do in double dash. I mean, if you get 1 blue shell dodge in a run, you would basically already be like, oh yeah, I did that. Just 3 in a row.
That's crazy.
And on top of just being a better driver, Emo had terrible RNG.
Oh, it was horrible.
He got Mario Karted to the max.
Absolutely.
I think there were like 4 blue shells on Rainbow Road alone, which is ridiculous.
And lightninged, like every course.
Exactly. Every course he had major stuff happening. And Goomba, I believe, only got lightninged once in the entire run.
Yeah, it was a huge discrepancy in the...
pretty unfair. So it ended up with 1 minute and 4 seconds win for Goomba. But David, or Optimistic Emo, did go away with the hearts of the audience by doing the blue shell skip on Bowser Castle, which is really cool. So basically you throw a blue shell at yourself, you throw it backwards and then it comes back to you. And if you do that at the finish line, you can, you fly up in the air and you hit a checkpoint trigger, and that way you skip half the lap, which is something that has not been done on a live streamed race before.
Yeah, I was going to say I never even saw that shortcut before.
Yeah, it's pretty rare because you have to get a blue shell to do it.
It's really cool though. It's the same principle as Waluigi Stadium, right?
Yeah, except you need a blue shell to do it, so you can't set it up without a blue shell.
No, right. Yeah.
And okay, so I'm almost done here, but they also did a time trial 1 try face-off after that, where the format was that they could basically pick a track of choice, and then it was a first to 5 wins, and the guy who lost gets to pick the next track. So I think they started with Luigi Raceway. Maybe that's default, just being the first track. And Goomba won that one. And then Emo picked the track, which I don't actually remember which track he picked second. But anyway, Goomba started out strong again, taking a 4-0 lead. And then Emo made a comeback through Waluigi Coliseum. And in the meanwhile, Goomba actually, this is crazy. On Peach Beach, his 1 try was a top 5 time in the world. I mean, that's unheard of. He beat Druvan's PR in a 1 try. Druvan being like a double dash champion for 5 years or something. It's just ridiculous, unheard of. But then luck shifted a little bit, and Emo won Waluigi Coliseum, and Emo won Bowser Castle. So
Dry Desert.
Yeah, and Dry Desert by a couple of hundreds.
Yeah, it was not much.
Yeah, and Goomba again, he hit a cactus in the final lap and still pulled out a top 20 time despite a cactus hit. The cactus loses you over a second, I believe.
Yeah.
So just ridiculous. But then it was it 4-3 at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last track was Mushroom City, a track which Goomba actually did a 1 try world record on this year. So
yeah, like a month.
He was always gonna win that one. So it was 5-3 in the end. But all in all, it's a good showing.
Yeah, and I think it was. I gotta agree. It was the first time I heard speedrun.
Yeah.
At Twitch, I know speedrun.com from like almost 10 years ago. It feels like.
Exactly.
But the Twitch channel, I feel like I would have heard about it because speedrun must be a coveted Twitch channel name.
Absolutely, yeah. I was shocked. So did you guys know about this, Joe or Ryan?
No, I never heard of
Yeah. Well, I know somewhat of the story behind twitch.tv/speedrun.
Mhm.
I know Pac, the owner of speedrun.com, acquired it. I don't know exactly how, but he has been known to, shell out a good deal of money to get these, highly coveted domains and names and whatnot, like he did for speedrun.com. So he
Right.
somehow found a way to get twitch.tv/speedrun, and they've been using it now in all these tournaments and stuff, which is really cool.
So,
Definitely.
how long has that channel been active? I've been missing out.
It's only been a few weeks or months now. Yeah, he's kind of heavily involved with this. There are a bunch of different speedrunning sort of initiatives, tournaments, stuff like that going on. Like a couple, Big John is a popular streamer who tries to run some tournaments, tries to run some events. There's another guy called Speedrunners League who just kind of puts up money. And
That's
then there's
great, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. And he just kind of he just says here's $100 or $200 to whoever wins this race, whatever. And then there's the Global Speedrun Association, and I know Cheese05 Mario 64 runner is involved with that one to a large extent, and they're the ones who are tied in with the Speedrun Twitch account, as far as I know.
So I'm just gonna have a guess there. Is this like the rise of speedrunning going esports?
It is hard to say. I mean, obviously, speedrunning is never going to be at a point where you have, Epic Games putting in $100 million prize pools. Okay. But at the same time, it's okay, clearly, there's professional sports like the NFL and European soccer, and all this kind of stuff that has a lot of money. And there are other professional sports that don't have as much money involved, right? But they're still professional sports. So, I mean, is it really esports? It probably is, depending on your wide enough definition of esports. If you just want to say it's competing at video games, well then yes, speedrunning is sort of already esports, right? But it's just not kind of seen in the same light. But maybe these kind of tournaments will begin that. Yeah,
because matches are quite a bit more enticing to watch than one guy playing time trial or speedrunning something ad infinitum.
Especially with added commentary from dedicated casters, it makes a big difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say the professionalism surrounding it and the monetary aspect probably would be my definition of what esports would be considered.
Yeah. The kind of funny thing is that sometimes you'll be watching or you'll see a clip of some esport tournament and it just looks way too overproduced and too serious, and it kind of makes you not want to watch it, kind of.
This is true.
Whereas some kind of more, how do you put it, with the term organic, homemade,
grassroots.
Yeah, these can kind of feel more authentic, right? But I mean, maybe that's just kind of a bad argument for it, but that's the way I see it sometimes. Yeah.
Well, there's a certain charm to it, but it's smaller scale. You kind of lose that charm when it's a giant production.
Well, it's people really liked AGDQ back before it was years ago, and it was a big different story. So now it's a bit overproduced, I think a lot of people would say.
Yes, I think that's a good example, because I used to watch
with that,
fuck out of speedruns and GDQs back in the day, but now it's just okay.
Yeah, they kind of turned a corner in 2015, I'd say. That's kind of where it kind of, when they started renting out giant halls as opposed to one room,
Yeah, it went a place not everyone wanted to follow, I guess. But sure. bigger audience, probably more successful in that way, so good for them.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing, and I don't know if you guys want to get sidetracked too much with GDQ here, but the most recent event, SGDQ 2018, actually had a somewhat smaller audience than the previous few events.
Yeah, I have noticed the slowdown in growth.
Are you talking about Twitch audience or on the venue audience there?
Twitch, not total number of viewers on Twitch, and the thing is, they still raised more money. So it's from an organizational standpoint, maybe they've just got rid of viewers who weren't going to donate, but they are losing viewers, and that's an interesting thing to watch over the next couple events for sure.
Is
Definitely.
it an intentional scale back, or do you just think like people are just losing interest because of how big it's gotten?
Well, I think partly people are losing interest. I think a large part of it is that Fortnite is so popular; it's taking viewers from every corner of gaming around the world, right?
Yeah.
So I think they pulled a lot of viewers away from GDQ, and obviously it could be a combination of things. People might just be getting tired of it as well.
Yeah, the saturation probably
saturation,
also happening,
absolutely.
and of course all the very best games, the most compelling games, have been played to death. So now you're bringing in your new games, which may not be as enticing to the viewers.
It's true. And I mean, I never see a problem though with playing the most popular games to death. And I was
Oh, me
bringing-
neither, actually.
Like
You know,
Mario
I
Maker
was-
is an example, right?
I would watch Mario Maker every time it's
Right,
played.
yeah,
Every time
me
it's
too.
on HDQ, I would watch this. Yeah.
Well, exactly right. And as long as you have a good run or Ocarina of Time, I'd watch it every month, right? There's a reason. I use the example of the Academy Awards always has the same categories. They don't try to change the categories every year. Or
Right.
the Masters golf tournament is on the same course every year. People love it, right? So I think people do like this kind of consistency, and I think that's a big something that the organizers of GDQ don't quite understand for sure.
Yeah, I would say they're also kind of getting pretty gimmick heavy with their runs at some points. Like blindfolded runs were a thing for like Punch Out and stuff, but like now you have to do something crazy if you want to have your game accepted at all. It's no longer been, or it's no longer the same thing where it was like just have a good runner running a game. It's like, well, what else do you do with the game? It's like, well, I don't know. And they say, well, you're declined then. It's like, well, that sucks.
No, it's
So,
true.
having said that, though, some of the gimmicks are still really
Some of them
really
are
cool.
fun, but
Like
sometimes it
what
jumps the shark.
TMR did at ESA. I don't know if you've seen this. The blindfold tunnel in what's it called? Super
yeah.
Ghosts. Holy.
No, Battletoads, right?
Battletoads,
Sorry, yeah, sorry, Battletoads. Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive, but like now it's kind of like if you want to have your game accepted, you have to have like something like ancillary on the side that you also do to make it interesting. But I think just a run itself would be interesting.
Right.
I always used to think GDQ was too far on the conservative side. Just wanted strict speed runs, no two-player stuff, no competition. And then I almost feel like the Mario Kart Double Dash, Andreas Rudmarker versus Richard Carlson, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was kind of the eye-opener there. The All Cups run that went down to the last second or something.
Yeah, that was at ESA, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
But
some other
after
people
that
did a Mario Kart run at a GDQ where it was down to the final second. I can't remember who that was though.
that
Hashtag stage for charity.
I still can't believe when I watched that back, Harold, that you lost in the end.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
you had that
okay.
one.
Don't mention the war.
It's still
Don't
an open
mention
wound.
No, it's not actually. It's I really would have taken this result over a 5-second win any day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's so much more
Sure.
memorable this way.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Should we try moving on a little bit? The world of SMK. Just get that out of the way so Goose can participate. I don't know, Ryan. What's your take on SMK, by the way?
It's one of those, how do I put it? I'm Mario Kart 64 or nothing, right? That's the one
Yeah.
I know. That's when I played a little bit. I can kind of follow a little bit of Double Dash because I played that too, but Super Mario Kart's just a little bit before my time. I don't know much about it.
Right. Okay. So no video then.
Not unless I can do a video on anything if there's something interesting enough, but I don't know. I haven't heard of too many crazy stories from it recently.
Well, there is one world record in Super Mario Kart that doesn't have a video.
which one is this?
So it's Ghost Valley 1 Fast Lap.
Actually,
and I
there's
think-
more. Sorry,
Yeah.
Rob.
There's one
Sorry
other
to
one. I
interrupt
think.
you.
Or
Oh,
two
no,
other
Bowser
that's-
Castle. Yeah,
that's
Bowser
easy.
Castle.
Yeah.
I swear someone messaged me about this at one point, I think.
Oh, really?
A lot of people will message me stuff that's like, yeah, people will just send me, emails or Twitter DMs telling me of a story they think would be interesting to cover. And, a lot of times I say, okay, thanks, but it's, I don't know too much about it, whatever. But I swear this one, I'll try to see you, while you guys are talking what this person said. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of mine, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's Carol's flap, and Well, it's old, right? It's like super old.
It's like 12
Yeah,
years old, I think.
2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did used to have videos at that time, although it was
Yeah,
shaky,
so I
potato
can
cam, black and white.
Once again, I can tell you what happened. I had one means of recording, so there was a single point of failure setup,
Yeah.
and that involved a webcam, which requires a PC. And that week, I don't even know how long it lasted, but my parents' computer was broken, the hard drive was busted, so I had to wait until like it would get replaced. And I happened to get the lab that week, or that period,
You
and that's
just
the end of the
happened to
story.
get it.
Convenient, huh?
You got one of the most unbreakable records in Super Mario Kart.
I didn't know that when I did it, right?
That's probably true. So let me just do the segue thing that I hate so much.
So there's
So, Carol-
not much of a story there, actually. So
No,
Not much of a lore, if you will.
no, definitely not. But people have been trying to go after it, and it's just not happening, right?
I will tie it one day,
Right.
just to have a video.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
People
it'll
have been
happen.
going for it, but it's proving to be a tall order for certain people
It'll happen.
that shall remain nameless.
Right. So a world record that is on video, Carol.
This week's Mario Circuit 3. I guess you're talking about that one.
Yes, yes.
I went after the Mario Circuit 3 world record because I wanted to do a PAL system world record this year, which I had not done yet. And without being inconsiderate, I think the Mario Circuit 3 one is probably the low-hanging fruit. As far as you can tell any world record, that it's a low-hanging fruit. Because it did not have the optimized strat in all of the laps. So Scoop had a 126.74 with 4 out of 5 pipe boosts. And I figured if I would just get 5 out of 5 pipe boosts, which is still a tall order because you need to hit the pipe in a specific, very finicky way, which is hard to do, but once I did it once, I expected to get the world record. And I actually did a 5.5 and did not get the world record. I got a 127.04 because my driving was not up to scratch. So it's a little bit embarrassing. But I actually pushed it a bit more, and then I hit another 5.5, which was a couple of tenths faster than the world record at 126.48. So that's the only world record driven this week in SMK, I believe. So yeah, got my 2018 PAL World Recce. So I can now switch to NTSC season, maybe.
Maybe go for a certain record that was aforementioned earlier. Yeah.
No
Let me
pressure.
Let me just mention that I cringe up every time I hear the word recce. I have issues. Anyway, so how was the 5 lap? I think someone said it could go down another half a second.
Oh yeah, 125 is I feel inevitable. Once someone actually hits nice driving in combination with 5.5 pipe hit. Like what my race had going for it was the 5.5 pipe hit, and every successful pipe hit wins about, I would say, 2,500s.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe even 3/10s. And Sami has 126.98 without any. So cutting a full second is very feasible.
Right.
Obviously. Having said that, it's a hard track to be consistent on, and I at least am not going to push it further. I was just in there for the world record, basically. And if other people would pursue it, like Scoop, I think could hit 125 if he tried. I could do it too if I tried. And it's gonna happen one day, I'm sure.
But it's a bit of a trash NBT track.
It's not the best track, that's the thing. I don't want to dedicate any more time to it than strictly necessary.
All right. Right, fair enough. We have a bit more of SMK news. I guess we should give the biggest of shoutouts to Scow B or
Absolutely.
Scoob for uploading tons of Super Mario Kart footage from the World Championship. I believe he has done all 4 finals, grand finals.
Yep.
All of battle mode,
Mm-hmm.
and he's currently uploading match race, or is he done with that too?
He is in the process of uploading match race, I believe.
Yeah. So probably by the time this episode goes live, all of the recorded matches from the World Championships will be up on YouTube.
There's a ton of work. Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, you
And
just
there's a
got
one small footnote to add to that as well is that Scoop was actually being interrupted in his uploads of battle mode videos because of the weather again. So he uses his 4G connection, which is sensitive to thunderstorms apparently. So he had to skip a day of or a night of uploading because of thunderstorms in France. So shout outs to 4G.
still on that shit. Huh?
Yeah, I don't understand either, but yeah.
And speaking of CDM, Joe, did you know that we have the next world's winner of CDM in this conversation?
We do. I'm not familiar.
Well, Carol has started something he calls Project Timmy 2.0.
Okay.
Which is the first, I believe, the first non-secretive CDM practice.
Yeah, that's a thing.
All the top players in Super Mario Kart claim to never practice Super Mario Kart for CDM.
Sure.
Well, Mio and Sami specifically. Scoop is a little less scared
Right,
of
yeah,
admitting it.
that's true. Well, Carol, you can talk about it yourself, but Carol and Lafungo are now doing sort of a...
Training sessions.
Yes. Well, they already were, I guess, but those were secretive.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so like Lafango moved into our house, the House of Gaming, like 2 months before CDM, on which 1 month he was on holidays. So, but then he wanted to like practice with me in SMK without the world knowing, so that he would be like suddenly from scrub to, you know, actually decent at the game.
Maybe win that most improved title.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
the Merite Award, which he did end up winning.
Yeah.
So that's why one of the conditions, like if we were gonna practice, like don't stream it and don't tell anyone. It's like, okay, I'm fine with that, but we need a secret code name for the project to refer to. So we called Project Timmy. Timmy is my cat. I believe the acronym stands for something too, but I forgot what it was. The M probably stands for Mario Kart and T for training, but I don't remember the rest.
It's all about the
Anyway,
cat.
Yeah, it's all about the cat, exactly. Which is now also a logo in my stream overlay.
Oh, brilliant. So there's been a bit of a hiatus now. And also, you're streaming on SMK_machine and
Yes.
Lafango's channel?
Yeah, so we alternate. We feel that's the fair thing to do. So one night we'll stream on my channel, and the next we'll stream on his. And we try to go through all the modes, and then the aim is to play at least once. Well, not at least. The aim is to play once a week on average. This week we failed, but hopefully we can get it back on track next week.
Oh, sure you will. Sure. All right. Any other news or topics we want to touch on before we pester Gooser with some conversational chat?
I want to talk about those crazy unties by Carl
Yes.
Jobst and GoldenEye.
Jeez.
Sure,
Yeah.
that does go into the topic of Goose, I guess. Yeah, what happened there?
I mean, which one in particular do you want to start with?
How about Damn
Well-
52?
Well, the video was pretty. I do have a 20-minute long video explaining everything that went to Dan 52. That was pretty insane. Really, it came down to a matter of will, and it's one of those things where we knew back in the day, even in 2005, you could get 53 with 0 boosts and 1.2 control style. So with 3 boosts plus starting in 2.x control style, which saves a third of a second, the math's all there. It was just a matter of going out and doing it. So pretty crazy stuff.
That kind of, to me, that kind of sounds like 53 without boost and 1.x is just as hard as 52.
It very well might be. I wouldn't say quite exactly
Well,
as
no,
hard,
no.
but like it's pretty good. Yeah, pretty insane.
So who did that?
Dan Chervone, who
Oh.
peaked at second place or second or third place, and he played like 2004, 2006 or so, and he was really, really good at the game and got a few untieds.
That's the man with the most beautiful movement when I watch GoldenEye.
Yeah, exactly. He man. I mean, and he's like a genius, right? I mentioned him in the last Speed Lore episode. He went to Harvard. He's like an intense mathematician. He's been published in all these articles. He works for a pro sports team now. So like he obviously went on to much bigger and brighter things. But like this is a guy who's just super talented all around, when it comes to speedrunning, it's no exception.
Right. Well, we probably don't want to spend too much time talking about each of the untieds you've covered in the Speedlore videos and whatnot. But
I just want to know, because I don't think that part was covered, but do we have a ballpark figure on how many hours for each untied he spent? Or does he know, or does anyone roughly know?
I think he would roughly know, but I don't necessarily have it. I don't think he played like 100 hours for the Bunker 116. I think it was less. He's very intentful on his play now. Like he figures out something, he sees it, and he goes for it. And it usually comes relatively quick. Like Dam 52 was a year-long thing for him, but all the other untieds, like they're pretty efficient.
Yeah,
right.
That's important. Speaking from experience too. Yeah.
Yeah, so is that what sets him apart from other players now? I mean, other players are probably just as good or whatever, but he sets his eyes on these untieds and just goes for them and succeeds, it seems.
Yeah, his approach is just very different. I mean, he really... One thing I've been thinking about recently, and maybe doing a video on, is like, who are the 5 gods of GoldenEye? This is a term used in Smash Brothers Melee, the 5 gods of Melee.
Oh, I have to quickly disagree. I think that term is from Street Fighter back in early 2000.
It is, of course, and it's a borrowed term.
Oh,
but it's
right. Yeah. Okay.
It's most well known through Melee now, and so I was thinking, who are these guys, right? And right now, I would say it's probably David Clemens, Mark Rutsu, Perfect Ace, Big Boss Man, and I'd have to say Carl Jobs now, certainly. Yeah. And those other 4 guys, I would say, have the same or more skill as Carl. I think even Carl knows that Ace is like by far the most skilled player. But Carl's approach is just so different. And a guy like Clemens, he's kind of a funny guy because like sometimes he'll come up with the strategy and figure out and go for it. But like it just feels like Carl is so intentful with it. Like he will make it happen no matter what and find the path forward.
Yeah, I think after those, even after Dam 52, you would almost already be on that list for me personally as an outsider. But with all 3 of those, over 100 people untied, he has to be.
It's absolutely insane. And like the thing is, then where do you categorize someone like a Wouter Jansen who has the most records ever in history? And mind you, his last untied was in 2005, right? So maybe you put him as an old god or something. But I mean, I think you could make these kind of classifications and make it pretty interesting.
Yeah, honorable mentions, perhaps.
Exactly. Demigods, ancient religions, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you could have fun with it.
Yeah, it is kind of fun like that. So I've been kind of gone from the N64 game scene for like 10 years. So we did this show, this Karthritis kart radio show back in 2008. And back then, for me, it was Wouter Jansen and Brian Bossart. Those were like the 2 in GoldenEye, and that was probably not the most nuanced impression, but that's kind of the thing I got out of the rankings, that those were the 2. So that's no longer the case. Wouter's been bopped, as you say.
Very, very, very much so, and like Carl's most recent untied, Bunker 116.
Yep.
The 17 was set by Wouter. Now there's only 1 record left in the rankings that Wouter originally set, Frigate Agent 23. And so if that one goes, then his entire legacy, in a sense, has been erased from the leaderboards.
Man.
And what is interesting, though, is that now there's a new strategy on the Cradle level. And, Wouter all of a sudden is back in action playing Cradle. And he actually, just as this podcast started, he lowered his PB on Cradle Double Agent from 37 to 34. He got the world record, and now if he can get 33, it would be unbelievable if he could get an untied 13 years later, after his last one.
Definitely. 13 years between world records.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And now it has happened before. This guy, Randy Buikima, is a player. I think he went 14 years between Untieds, actually. He got a couple on Runway Double Agent in 2016. But the thing is, and it's a pretty big deal because Randy was a former dual champion, Perfect Dark and Goldeneye. He was a legendary player. But like Wouter's even more legendary. So if Wouter can do it, it's going to be unbelievable.
So did he come back just for this Cradle strategy development, or?
I think largely, but Wouter's kind of always been around. He just doesn't really play very often. I guess this new thing just kind of inspired him to go and play and go for it.
Can you put it in layman's terms what the new thing is?
Okay, so if you're familiar with the Cradle level, pretty much everyone who's played the game's familiar with, you run the Cradle, you chase Trevelyan around, and you run to the end, okay?
Sure.
But the strategy involved, like the previous strategy involved, if you shot out the drone, there's a room Trevelyan runs into, activates a console, there's a drone in that room. If you shoot at the drone, it blows up in a fire explosion. If you shoot Trevelyan on the same frame that the explosion damages him, he will die. Now, there's 2 possible frames per run to do that on, but it's still pretty inconsistent. They're like 15 frames apart, so it's mostly luck. It's not something that can really be timed. It's just a matter of doing a bunch of runs and hoping it happens. So we would kill him like that, and then go to the left side of that hut console room, blow up the console ourselves, and run to the end. Recently, it was discovered that Trevelyan, 30% of the time, when he dies, will drop a grenade. And that grenade, a certain small percent of the time, will like bounce in the right spot that it blows up the console itself. So you can just skip going to the left side of the room and blowing up the console. You can just run straight to the end after killing him, and that saves the 1 second to make 33 possible.
So what I got from that is you said it was recently discovered. That is a 30% chance.
This is like 2 or 3 days ago, yeah.
I guess I assumed the tech gurus of GoldenEye would know the drop rates of stuff like that, because there's like a grenade drop earlier on in Cradle, right?
Well, it's one of those things, and the other grenade drops that were used even in older strategies, they're much lower than 30% of the time, far lower. So this one, like, all the pieces were there, we just didn't put it together because we get a little bit complacent, That's all it comes down to.
Right.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I remember there's like this, what is it called? Dark LTK silo run, which requires like 3 grenade drops or 4.
Yeah, but the thing with DLTK is because each time a guard like takes damage and then reacts, there's a new chance to pull a grenade.
Right.
And so since they take 10 headshots to kill, each guard has like a 10 times greater chance to pull a grenade in a sense. So it's not like as absurd.
Okay.
Well, Dark LTK is absurd in other
Yeah,
ways.
just by pure definition.
So what's the hardest level to beat Dark LTK's streets?
Silo was the last one to be beaten
Silo was
because
the last one to be beaten.
Oh wow, yeah.
because Silo has a timer on it, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And so most DLTK levels, the first time they were beat, took like 20 minutes or 40 minutes, and then slowly got refined down.
Right. Yeah.
But on Silo, we never had that luxury. It was either beat it in 8.5 minutes or nothing.
Am I wrong in thinking that when it got beaten, it was more than 8.5 minutes?
It was slightly more because so the intro cutscene on Silo is like 15 seconds long or something. So if you skip those 2 cutscenes, the timer doesn't start counting down until like 6 or 7 or 8 seconds later. So you'll actually have like 8:38, and then you could have like 1 or 2 seconds after like the full first pulse of the explosion and survive, I think. So it's like you could get like an 8:39, 8:40, and I think 8:39 was the original time actually.
Right.
How many people have actually completed Silo Dark LTK now?
Not many.
I'm pretty sure it's 3. I can double check here in a second.
All right. Still very hard.
They're all really hard.
But I guess it's a very niche corner in the community, perhaps, or is it actually quite competitive still?
It's 4 people now who have completed it, and yes, Bozon's first completion was 8:31, so just 1 second over. It is pretty niche. It has much, like, when you consider the amount of competition compared to the, main levels in GoldenEye, it's so much less competition.
Right.
But it's the same skilled players doing a lot of it, right? So the overall skill of the records isn't that much lower, but it's not quite the same for sure.
It's the same situation with Super Mario Kart between like time trial and Grand Prix runs. It's the same players doing it, so the skill level is still quite comparable, but just the amount of effort going into it is more serious in time trial, even though it's getting closer.
Yeah, it's a slightly different game. Well, not game, obviously, but the PAL NTSC difference is sort of, to me, the same as time trial versus Grand Prix.
Right.
All the cornering is different, the speed is different, and then you have the items, the CPUs.
Yeah, but basically the specialists are on both sides. Let's say.
Yeah. Although this Boson guy, is that the name?
Yep, Adam Boson, yep.
He's sort of a dark LTK specialist, right?
He is, but he's also had a lot of like crazy untied world records in the main GoldenEye stages, or just kind of unexpected records. So he's just a very like dark horse character who just shows up every now and then with something shocking.
That's a cool persona to have, to be honest. But he hasn't spent that much time in the standard format game then.
I think he has actually. He's actually PB'd pretty recently. August 2018, he got some Aztec PBs. So, but okay, that's his only 2 PBs this year. Last year, maybe 8 PBs, nothing in 2016, 3 PBs in 2015. So he's an occasional player, but I think he did, for a time, put a lot of time into the main sequence, for a few years there, yeah.
Right. Moving on, some GoldenEye questions. This is going to turn into a question, Goose, I'm afraid. But the GoldenEye gathering at GDQ next year, have you given that any thought?
Well, definitely. Now, the thing is, like, submissions for GDQ closed a couple days ago, and like we had this huge plan all along that we really focus, really try to like all submit a race, whatever, and put a lot of effort into our submission and make cool videos and make sure it gets in, and like we ended up doing none of that. And so you wonder, is that just because we're lazy and like whatever, or is it because we didn't really actually want to get into GDQ that much? We don't really care about it, and like maybe that's more of the explanation. But the thing is, we are still going to meet up kind of at the event. One of the guys has organized like renting out a house nearby. I think 16 or 20 of us are going to be there, and then there'll be more people at the event itself, and we're going to, we'll all be around the area at the time and have a big meetup, and it'll be a lot of fun, regardless of whether or not anyone is playing GoldenEye in the actual GDQ event.
Yeah, it's a good enough excuse to get together and do something, I guess. Going to watch GDQ is sort of enough on its own, but have you ever had like a big GoldenEye meeting in the past? Except for the Virginia meets.
Well, yeah, the Virginia ones, and then at GDQ 2015, we had 20 people, and it was a good time, maybe 30 people. I think that was the biggest meeting of Eliters at a GDQ. So this one hopefully is going to be bigger and better and more fun, yeah.
So Eliters going to GDQ has been a thing in the past, like all the years, with spikes in 2015 and the next year?
I would say 2014 we had, some Eliters, some Carters. We had a good time there, maybe 10 or 12 of us. 2015 was the most. 2016 went back down again. And then pretty much every GDQ there's a few Eliters who end up going, but not any kind of huge community meet with like 20 or 30 or more people.
How many do you think are going this time?
I think it might end up being 30 or 40, I would say.
Wow, it's a nice number.
That's huge, yeah.
We'll see, right? Because obviously the house has a limited capacity, so and you know how gamers are, right? Some people don't understand these types of things, so we're hoping that there's no one I'm kind of you
Dump
know
style, you mean?
you know how things go at these when there's a lot of socially unaware gamers around, right? Things can go poorly at times.
Yes.
So hopefully everyone either is allowed to be in the house or has another place to stay, like the hotel room, and everything goes smoothly.
But you are definitely going to this, or don't?
I
know.
mean, as definite, like that's what I always say, right? Like, yeah, I'm definitely going, but like something crazy could happen that prevents me from going. But like, I'm planning on going right now.
Yeah.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, is what I always say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So there is an elephant in the room, and I'll try my darnest to make a very slow segue there. For the meeting you're doing at GDQ, are you just talking like high fives and some casuals, or do you guys plan on having a tournament or one tries, or is there anything like that going on?
We don't really do stuff like that much. I think maybe you guys won't have seen any of it, but last year we met up, 4 of us, in Kansas City for the solar eclipse, and unfortunately at that meeting, it was sort of an excuse. Like, one of the guys, Graviton, who's a pretty new leader, he has the runway double agent on Tides.
Wait, is that the Pilot Wings expert?
Correct. Yep, he's Pilot Wings as well. Yep. And so he's like, hey, like, the solar eclipse is coming right over our house. Who wants to come hang out, play video games for a weekend, and see it? And so I went there with David Clemens and Brian Bosshart, Big Boss Man. So it was 4 of us. And yeah, we played Mario Party. Grav taught Doom to Clemens. But mostly we were just like hanging out in the room playing our single level GoldenEye stuff, going for records. And I was trying to play Silo Secret Agent. I got some I almost got the world record a couple times there. So it was like stuff like that. It's kind of fun to have like 3 or 4 guys hanging out in the room, and you're all trying to get a world record, like, kind of in front of each other, right? And if that happens, that's really amazing and really cool. So like that's mostly what we go for,
I understand that. The early Super Mario Kart meets were exactly like that.
Yeah.
That's what we do, like time trial. So that's what you do when you meet as well, at first, at least. So yeah.
Exactly. And there's going to be a lot of other random gaming, a lot of, I'm sure Mario Party, I'm sure Mario Kart, but like, I think that's what sort of the main challenge is going to be, people trying to beat their PBs and get world records.
But I guess what we want to know is if there's any streamed content going to be coming from this meeting, potentially.
That is a good question. I don't know for sure. I know there's sort of there was a rule at HDQ. I don't know if it's the same recently, that you can't stream from the hotel because they don't want everyone using the hotel internet, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, but since we're in a different house, it might be possible to happen, right? So I don't know. I haven't been involved in organizing that yet.
That's just sort of an old thing from the Mario Kart community, that when there are meetings, back in the day, people didn't used to stream anyway. But I always wanted to see what's going on in those meetings, even back in like 2004 and stuff, the first one I heard about. So yeah, even if it's just people going for world records, the mood in the room and the chat and everything, it's a thing to behold. I mean, I would definitely want to watch that, even though I'm no GoldenEye guy.
Yeah, no, it'd be like someone like me. It's okay. I haven't been streaming, doing speedruns like for half a year now, but in that sort of atmosphere, I totally would, right? You're kind of in that zone, you're just playing games for a week. I would totally start to stream and just hang out and chat with chat as well as the people in the room, and that might be a pretty cool a window into it. And I definitely plan on like making kind of vlog type of videos while I'm there as well, kind of showing what's going on and talking to people and whatnot.
Yeah, that's cool. Vlogs, that's one of my least favorite words, I believe, after
well, just nowadays they're so heavily connotated with like the YouTubers like Jake Paul and that kind of crap, right? So it's like you don't want to associate with that kind of vlogging lifestyle. But it's,
right.
That is what it is, right?
Cringy at best.
Quite. Right. So there have been talks about. I mean, I don't know about you, Carol, but I've at least spoken to some of the European GoldenEye players, or I should call them leaders, I guess. who are considering going to the TDQ meeting.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be like the big one, is the word on the streets, so to speak. And all these people are, I mean, good speedrunners of GoldenEye, but more known to me, at least, as exceptionally good multiplayer players. Yeah.
I think you're mostly talking about Patrick Wessels and Isa Smith, right?
Ilu.
Ilu, yeah. Oh, yeah, but Ilu is also, for me, is also very much a speedrunner.
Oh,
more
sure.
So,
but,
more so
yeah.
than Isa and Patrick, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't actually know how Isa and Ilu are ranked, but they are. The times I've watched them play multiplayer or speedrun, it's a sight to behold, surely.
Absolutely.
So, Goose, can you shed some light on the state of multiplayer GoldenEye over in the big country?
You know, I honestly don't know too much about multiplayer at all. It just, when I grew up, I never really had any competent person to play against, so I never got good at multiplayer. The only person I had to play video games with, when I was like 12, 10, was my cousin, who is, we'll say a bit slow, right? He's not very good at the video games, that kind of stuff. So if we ever played multiplayer, I would just destroy him because, so I never got good. So I never learned how to play. And as a result, I just don't really care about the multiplayer scene. I think Carl Jobst, though, he, famously came second place to Clemens at maybe Virginia 2012 or 2011, somewhere in there. And that was kind of the last huge meeting between titans of multiplayer. And I think Carl and Clemens would love to have a rematch sometime. Whether that happens at GDQ, I'm not sure. I haven't been following it too much. Yeah.
All right. I find the multiplayer quite interesting, and I think Patrick Nilsson won Virginia meet as well when he went.
Several times, I believe.
Several times.
Nilsson's probably won, yeah, a few times. I mean, the thing with Nilsson is he's like a traveler by nature, right? Like he lives the life of the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, he's just like a connoisseur of luxury.
I think he's in Amsterdam right now, but he might already be gone again. I don't know.
Exactly. So for him, it's nothing to go to America for a week, right?
Right.
Whereas the other Europeans, it's much more of an unusual effort for them.
True.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm just curious how the very top players would rank in multiplayer, because that's kind of never really happened, has it? I mean, we had the European meetings. NLG 07 was something, and
yeah, that had Ilu, Patrick Nielsen, Patrick Wessels. Who else am I forgetting now?
well, Steven.
Oh, Isa, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say Isa was probably there.
Yeah. Isa won it actually.
No, 2007. No.
Oh, I mean the free for all, the 4-player free for all. But the
Oh yeah.
the
Right.
1v1, which admittedly doesn't really work in GoldenEye. I think 3 players better. I think that's what the Virginia guys also ended up concluding. But the 1 versus 1 was won by Patrick Nielsen. I remember in the final against Ilu.
This is 2008.
I'm talking about 2012.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah, we did it 3 times. Okay.
Yeah, because
right.
that one had the most GoldenEye multiplayer specialists there.
Yeah, true. I am suffering from cart dementia at the moment. Right. So we kind of thought Patrick Wessels or even Steven Swartjes when he played in 2007, because he beat Patrick, but then after that, Patrick kept on beating Ilu every time they met.
Yeah.
And then kind of Patrick Nilsson cemented his spot in the first place after 2012.
Indeed.
And also, I believe Isa lived with Patrick Wessels for a bit.
Yeah, like a year when he was doing an internship in Amsterdam.
Yeah, and then they used to play multiplayer a bit.
Yeah, I was there. I live in the same house. So.
Right. Yeah,
I was basically target practice for those guys, and we played a lot of 3-player. And it mostly ended up with both of those guys chasing me to get kills, because they were obviously rushing to get like first to 10 kills or whatnot. and I was getting better because of it, because I had more chances to kill opponents because they were constantly flooding to me, right? So in the end, I was almost getting close to their scores, but still the skill gap was quite there.
I know that feeling, by the way, when you guys played GoldenEye in the practice room at SGDQ 2016. It was like a bully campaign. I was just like, God damn.
Yes, exactly.
I felt like a punching bag.
Patrick Wessels is the worst because he goes for spawn kills too and stuff. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I kind of lost a little patience with that. I was like, I'll just spin in a circle now.
Yeah, I still enjoy doing it because I love myself some GoldenEye, but yeah, I'm just not good at it.
I'm terrible at it. Awful. One of the worst.
But from that year of getting pummeled, Carol, you kind of concluded that Isa was a notch above
Yeah,
Wessels?
that was basically Isa won pretty much 90% of the matches we played. Yeah.
Right.
I think the sort of going list of the best players is like Isa Smith, maybe Patrick is Nilsson supposed to be better than Wessels?
Yeah, and I think Nilsson's actually better than Isa, but
Isa,
Isa won
yeah.
last year, but Nilsson is more like the favorite out of those.
So I think like the best players are like Patrick Nilsson, Isa Smith, Carl Jobst, and David Clemens, and maybe Jimbo is sort of close to them, but like those are the best guys.
Yeah, and Ilu and Patrick Wessels are like within overlapping skill sets. But not
wow.
Well, I mean, Patrick Nilsson and Isa are better than Patrick Wessels and Ilu, but it's not unthinkable that one of them wins, let's say. I think Ilu on a good day could beat Patrick Nilsson, for example.
No, sure. No, I mean I shouldn't have sounded so shocked, but like Ilu is good at a lot of games he plays for sure. I mean, Ilu actually had one of the first Super Mario 64 16-star world records.
Right.
And it has like 2 or 3 million views back before there was no speedrunning content on YouTube. Yeah.
Actually, let me derail for a second there. I have a video of Ilu from 2008 at the Next Level Gaming Meet in Norway.
I know where this is going.
So, the video you're talking about, Ryan, is from 2005, I believe.
Yeah, sounds right.
16-star world record, around 20 minutes something. And the time dropped a lot after that because more people got into the scene. Let me just name drop Miles Buckrim while I'm at it, and let's not think about that anymore. So Ilu lost the world record sometime between 2005 and 2006, I guess. And in the 2008 meeting, he was dead set on getting it back. I need to add to the story that he had just had a nice big old clunk of moonshine, and he sat down all in the corner and he was going to play Super Mario 64, and the rest of us are like, yeah, sure, we'll do this, we'll play this game. There's some Double Dash going on, there's Mario Party, Circuit Breakers, of course, whichever. Everyone's playing games, and Ilu is in the corner playing Super Mario 64. And I don't have the start of this captured on video, but I have the middle where Patrick Wessels takes the video camera and just films around the room. This is where Gio, the Super Mario Kart legend, is playing poker and screaming all in, all in. So Patrick is just going around filming everyone and saying hi and trying to flirt with anything that's not male or not as much male. Not too picky of a guy. And suddenly Ilu appears outside. Patrick is looking for Ilu, and he goes outside, and then he hears him off in the distance, because this is when Ilu had spawned. So Ilu had faked being shot by Patrick's video camera, and then he decided to respawn, because he was in GoldenEye in his head. The respawn was over by the forest outside of the venue, so he kind of ran over there, and Patrick had to go outside, get him back inside. Ilu runs into a wall, ends up on the floor. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. But then he gets back up on his feet and he says, Patrick, come, you gotta look. And then Ilu shows him the ending screen of Super Mario 64, and then he takes up the stopwatch, which says 14 minutes and 5 seconds or something. and he claims to have set a world record that night. I don't think he stands by that claim anymore. But yeah, I spoke to him about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago whenever he was streaming a bit, and he said, "Oh yeah, that was a sign of things to come."
I vividly remember that moment because Ilu running right into the wall made quite of an impact.
Yeah,
I was playing Mario Tennis with Ulf. We were trying to beat the max difficulty setting of the computer together in 2 versus 2. And we were very into it, and because it's very hard to beat the CPU at max. And then suddenly we heard this loud bang, and well, at first we heard someone running, because obviously you would hear that, right, on a wooden floor.
Yeah.
And then boom, straight into the wall. We're like, whoa, what happened here? So yeah, I remember that vividly.
World record.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of moments of roaming around and just kind of raw footage of the environment at these meets is always so funny to look back on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it from AGDQ 2015, which hasn't really seen like the surface of the day yet. People still have it on their hard drives and whatnot. A lot of like backroom stuff. I'm sure some of you will know the famous 100-meter dash world record that happened there.
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot more that was filmed like behind the scenes going into it. And yeah, I think that's all out there. And they're just kind of crazy memories to have, kind of makes it feel like there's something really important, really magical happening at these meets.
I was going to mention that actually when we were talking about the atmosphere and vibe at these events, how that 100-meter dash thing really was a window to how the HDQ atmosphere is backstage.
Well, I remember being at that event, and okay, I would say it's pretty much universal that the GDQs in 2013 were the last good ones. HDQ 2014 was still pretty decent, but had a bit of starting to fall off. And then SGDQ 2014 was a shit show. So we got to HDQ 2015, and online people, they're so boring. There's no one in the room. The atmosphere sucks. And all week we're trying to figure out like how to, amp it up, how to make something exciting. And I met that guy Ari2929, and just kind of organically we meshed really well. We started the track and field, and that's the thing, right? It's not a one try tournament, a 1v1 tournament. It's just, hey, here's this game, go for the record. And it was really cool to see that progress over like 2 or 3 nights of people trying for the record there.
I think the cash bounty was also pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, no,
just the reactions, like well, I hate using the word, but the hype being portrayed by the performances being done was really interesting and enticing.
And you know what it was like some people were really into it, hanging out in that room for hours, like waiting for someone to get the record. It was insane. And other people were like kind of bothered, like they're like, oh man, like these crazy, 100 people in this room, they're insane. I don't want to go in there tonight. And the craziest thing about that run that people don't know is that the cameras that we had set up weren't filming the screen. So the footage you see of that run, literally one of my buddies, one of the GoldenEye buddies, decided to just randomly to take out his phone and film like 2 or 3 runs at that moment. And it just so happens that the 941 record happened on one of like the 3 runs he'd filmed. Otherwise we would have no footage at all of it.
Eat your heart out, Usain Bolt.
9-4, imagine 941 in real life, man. That'd be pretty insane.
Jesus.
Yep, quite.
That's something, this is not relevant, but I think we've spoken about this before, Carol, that the world records you see on the Olympics can't be the actual best times or longest throws or whatever from practice and everything like that.
Yep. I would venture a guess that Usain Bolt did 9.4s in his life at some point.
I never seen him finish a run at full speed.
Exactly.
It is possible, but it's also possible that in training he never like put that much,
the
much
adrenaline
Olympic
factor.
I grew up with a lot of people who played a lot of sports growing up, and one person I know went to the Olympics in 2012 and 2016, And they told me that, like, I asked her about it one time. I was like, how is it possible that these people are getting their absolute best runs at the Olympics? You know, like, as a speedrunner, I know, like, your best run can happen anytime.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen under pressure at an event. And she told me that, like, it is crazy that it happens that way, but, like, in a sense, you are training 4 years for that exact moment to put out your absolute best run of any. And so that's why it happens there. But I think I know, like, in high jump, they'll often break records in practice that don't actually count. But it's hard to know for something like a running or a swimming if that's the case.
Right. I would just be interesting to hear from someone on the inside. But that's sort of what you're saying, though, that
Yeah.
they time their peak performance for the actual championship.
I guess they don't really do timed runs in training much. They just train specific parts of what leads up to the performance in the end. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm sure there's like a whole world to dive in there and like dig up these athletes who have, you know, broken the records or personal bests in training and kind of learn more about it.
It feels like almost it's a silent agreement not to talk about it because it never comes up. And like maybe that's the way they want it to be.
Exactly, it very well might be.
I do know some world records in the Olympics are beaten by means that are not valid, like a different technique from the high jump or slightly different boots or whatever for the long jump. Stuff like that has sort of a separate category that is completely not spoken about, but there are videos that show them, like the world records that don't count. No way.
Wow, that's very interesting. That's something to quote unquote waste my time with on YouTube tonight.
And I feel like it's sometimes there's like these areas of thought that maybe there's not very many YouTube videos made about it yet, right? So there's this whole potential untapped market of videos waiting to be made for people to waste thousands of hours watching, you know? I think this is one of those areas.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's interesting that you're coming at this sort of from the, because you said, Ryan, that you don't view your YouTube hours as wasted, and that's brilliant. I applaud you. I wish I could be as good of a guy on YouTube. But you consider it sort of research then? Everything is about growing the channel these days?
Like, it's sort of like if you are a top athlete and you watch other people play the sport. Like, you're always like, yeah, you're kind of like sitting back and relaxing and being entertained, but like you're still going to pick up things that are going to be valuable to you, right? Or like a film, let's say a film director watching other movies, you know, they're still going to be learning about techniques and see what other people did. So I kind of view it the same way.
Yeah.
This is how I watch football. Like, I play football as well, and then when I watch a match, it's very relaxing, but at the same time, you learn stuff like how to solve difficult situations, like how do the top players do it, and where do they move, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate to watching hockey very similarly.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So as long as you're getting something out of it. I mean, the hours I spend on watching religious debates,
Not as productive.
No. What I pick up from it are the philosophical points of view and like ways to think that I didn't necessarily have or have evolved as well as I should. So I do pick up stuff like that, which is useful in, you know, a fringe conversation once a year, whatever. At best.
I also gotta say it's nice to have another hockey fan in the podcast for once, because I'm always on an island by myself over here. So.
You're a big sports guy, right?
Very big sports guy, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to be a big sports guy, and then I just kind of got sick of, how do you put it, putting so much time and effort and money into something that you have no power over, right? It just, at one point, something clicked for me, and I stopped caring about it at the level I did. Like, in 2010-11, all I would do is wake up, you know, wait until the hockey games on the night, watch them all, follow it so closely, watch Sports Center. Like, that was my entire post about it online. That was it. And I just kind of got fed up. Like, I have no effect on this, right? Like, why am I so involved?
Well, at least you're not engaging like on Facebook, like in arguments over who's a better player in the team and stuff like that. Because I've seen a lot of those shit shows go down.
No, it is true. I mean, I probably did a little bit of that on some forums. I was posting a lot about sports on 2+2 poker forums. I mean, I had a good time, and made some buddies and whatnot. But yeah, just get a little bit too involved. And then, but at the same time, I was also coaching hockey, and so that's where I can kind of relate to watching, professional hockey games. And what I would notice is that a lot of the mistakes that, kids would make, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids playing hockey would make, are the same mistakes technically that even the pros make. Failing to get the puck out of the zone, or just silly things like that. And it kind of transcends all levels and skills of the game. And I wonder if it's probably the same across many sports where the mistakes are always going to be the same.
Yeah, I can relate to that in football. It's like the first thing you learn when you start playing football is if you're defending the ball, don't pass it in the center of your own goal. And I still see that mistake being made in professional football. Sometimes you're like, how does that happen still?
Exactly. It's
the
and
most basic thing.
And that's why it's a mistake, right? And it's like, but still, even at the highest level, well, it could be like the reason people make this mistake is because they're under pressure. They feel like they're going to mess up if they do something else, so they feel like they have to do it. And then, obviously, if you're a kid or a professional, you can be in that position where you end up doing it.
Right? Yeah.
Well, it's also the split-second decision-making, too. It's just like sometimes you only have like 2 or 3 options, and you just pick one just purely much at random, and it happens to be the wrong one, and it ends in the back of your net. It sucks, but it happens all the time.
I think it's an expression from the fighting game scene that you outthink yourself. So the mind game goes, I cannot pass in front of my own goal. That's a bad idea. And everyone knows that, so therefore they won't expect me to pass in front of my own goal.
Yeah, outsmart the competition.
Well, you outsmart yourself.
By doing the unexpected, because everybody knows, he's going to go up the boards with this pass. But oh no, it's in the middle of the net now. It's like, oh, well, why would you do that?
Or it's like you think, it's just this one time I can get away with it, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, and I do wonder if the same could be said about speedrunning, if the mistakes newer players make are the same as the top players. And
very interesting question.
I feel like it might not quite be like that, to be honest. I feel like speedrunning might be unique in that way.
Yeah.
Well, there's a giant learning curve involved, and I think once you get to a certain position, you don't really make those lower level mistakes anymore. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know, but.
Well, specifically about Mario Kart, I still miss zoom starts, so there's that.
Well, that's just fundamentals, though.
Nevertheless.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept, though.
I think I agree with Goose's conclusion. You don't make the same mistakes.
And like, it might just be because new players, I'm trying to think of like a situation where you're 100 hours into a grind of a level, you're a top player, you know how it goes, and it's like you make a poor decision. But like, speedrunning's different because it's not decisions. It's like intentful play and kind of muscle memory, And
you don't go for the same stuff that you're going for as a beginner.
Exactly.
Yeah, the muscle memory is a big part, like especially for Super Mario Kart. Like if you just picked up a controller and started playing now, like Carol and I would probably make better decisions, I guess, because we're just a little bit technically more sound. But like when we first started, we weren't anywhere near where we are now. But we'd never make the mistakes we make as kids unless you miss zoom starts like Carol does all the time. So throw some shade, sorry.
I was asking for it.
Right. So back to the elephant in the room. I guess we'll have that as our last topic then.
I still had a question about.
Oh, sure, Carol.
Postpone
the inevitable.
About the YouTube channel. I just watched today your new episode on Speedrun News. I really enjoyed it. I was just wondering, how do you select which games are worthy for Speedrun News, and if you ever envision adding other games in the future? How does that process go?
Well, like, okay, this is the 4th time I've done Speed News, so it's still pretty new to me, the series that I'm, and it's a very occasional thing too, right? It's like I'll really only do a Speed News episode when there's a bunch of insane GoldenEye records to talk about. So the first one I did was only GoldenEye, and I think the second one I did was GoldenEye plus Choco Mountain. and I threw in the Chocolate Mountain there because I think it was a little bit after I did the Matthias video. So I knew people liked watching I got a gauge. People liked watching Mario Kart videos, and the Chocolate Mountain records were relevant because of the Summoning Salt video as well, right?
Yeah.
And then since then, I've done GoldenEye and Mario Kart. And usually Mario Kart 64, there's only one or two. I just talk about Matthias and Dan, right? Like that's pretty much all that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to just throw the Mario Kart records in. And then, this time I threw in Ocarina of Time and Metroid. The Ocarina of Time is a big deal, but I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm not that much of an expert in it. So we'll just kind of throw it in there. Just kind
I
of
like that style though. It's like at least it's an honorable mention.
It's kind of like whatever I feel is going to fit. I mean, N64, so I know the big Nintendo games. A lot of people years ago had trouble like, oh no, one game is more popular than others for speedrunning. It's all equal, type of people. But like no, like some speed games are more popular than others, and I obviously know which ones those are. So if a big record happens in those games, I'd be more inclined to mention it, right?
Yeah. And I noticed that you do keep track of MK64 world record developments, but strictly non-shortcuts, because actually VAJ did a shortcut Mario Raceway Lab world record. That
it's true, and like I didn't know that. I didn't even like look to see, but I could have easily have looked to see and thrown that in. But this one, I was just kind of tacking on the Mario Kart 64 at the end because like there were like the four records I talked about in GoldenEye before were really big. I could have done an episode just on GoldenEye, and I was like, you know what, I'll throw in this Mario Kart stuff. People like following the Matthias story, right?
Exactly.
That's kind of that's the big deal.
That's kind of what I figured with the MK64 stuff. The when or if it happens, the 32 thing. But honestly, I think Matthias could do it. This end of this month, he's gonna play Donkey Kong Jungle Parkway again, which is sort of the only obstacle, right?
But let me just add, by the way, that I think as a segment on its own, by its own merits, without the 32-32 necessarily being a justification for it, I think the Mario Kart 64 corner of world record news is a cool thing to have on this news bulletin.
No, exactly, right? Because it's kind of like, I don't know. It just I know there's a lot of people who aren't involved in the communities, and they don't know. And it's like, here's a little bit of information. Now they know.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like the GoldenEye and the Mario Kart 64 players page has always sort of gone hand in hand.
Definitely.
Without too much overlap. I mean, some people know other people. Some people play both, but they're sort of separate, yet having the same journey in a way.
100%. Like they're kind of best friends of speedrun communities.
Well, it could be because we go back a very, very long time. Like, I don't really know many communities on the internet that go back further than 1998, and that's
it's kind of the longest running two games if you don't include like Arcade Frog.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I always hear about like, oh yeah, Doom speedrunning, Quake speedrunning. These are older.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they have quite the same community and following and whatnot, right? So that's all it is.
That was the rise of SDA, though, correct?
It certainly had a lot to do with it. The demos archive, the demos were, I think it was Doom. Your automatically saved demo file you could submit, and that's where it comes from. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is old, but I don't feel like the Doom part really survived in a big sense. So,
well, all you have to think is like, when was the last time you saw a video about Doom speedrunning that had hundreds of thousands of views?
It's not that long ago, but I don't want to say hundreds of thousands, but some guy, maybe Goose, pointed out that there was like a long-standing untied Doom world record.
Was probably EasyScape had that video.
Right, yeah, right.
But it's like, okay, but like that video wasn't just about Doom,
No, definitely.
Whereas there have been videos just about Mario Kart and just about GoldenEye that had this sort of attention, right? So what I'm saying is that the overall attention on Doom right now is much lower than these other games, Mario Kart and GoldenEye.
Absolutely. I'm at best doing devil's advocate at best. I make no claim for that case that Doom is alive and kicking.
I think people only even include Doom in these conversations because like they feel like, oh yeah, like I kind of have to talk about Doom. It's like one of the first speed games, but like there's just no relevance to it anymore at all.
No, I don't feel like there is. The console equivalent of Doom, GoldenEye, certainly has the market on that these days. Right. So, any more questions, Carol, or should I try the thing?
Yeah, I got maybe a question for Goose again. I think it's fair to say that you're spending the bulk of your gaming-related time nowadays on producing YouTube content and videos, rather than actually competing yourself. Correct me if I'm wrong in saying that. But,
Entirely, I haven't speedrun since February.
okay, so I've been in a phase like that myself, where I felt like commentating and creating content felt more rewarding and less frustrating. But in the end, I switched back to competing again because you don't get that adrenaline rush and the ego boost when you're on the sideline. So my question would be, do you envision yourself competing more again in the future?
Well, see, the thing is, I do get that adrenaline rush and ego boost. Maybe not quite adrenaline. Well, no, okay. I definitely get the ego boost when I see a lot of views and I see my YouTube, analytics page and revenue page, and I see the subscribers go up, and it's like, hell yeah, that's a huge ego boost, right?
Right.
The adrenaline rush, though. I mean, last night when I'm there trying to finish this speed news video and people are playing Cradle and getting the world records, I'm like, oh my god, how do I add this into the episode? Like, that was pretty intense. That was a lot of fun. It kind of felt like, maybe being in a news studio on a big news night and like you have to get it out there and figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the end of the video, you saw what I did. I didn't really dive into the Cradle records. I just put this kind of teaser for now I have to do another video about Cradle, right? So it is kind of exciting that way to stay on top of it. And so I think, okay, and all that being said, obviously there's still that like allure of like, oh my god, I could return to GoldenEye, I could get some insane record, it'd be really epic. And I wouldn't count that out. It is completely possible I will return someday. In fact, earlier this summer I actually bought a Mario Kart 64 Japanese cartridge. I was like, I should play this and try to improve some of my PBs. And that might be fun to do kind of more casually. So, yeah, I mean, right now I'm doing what I'm doing, but I think at some point I'll come back and play. Who knows, though?
Are you ranked on the MK64 time trial rankings?
I think I'm somewhere in the 200s. I think I was like between Elite A and King F, somewhere like that.
Right, so there's a rivalry between us without us knowing. I'm in the same ballpark range.
There you go.
I'll do a head-to-head after.
I mean, 200 is not that shabby in MK64. There's north of 1,000, right?
Yeah, and you gotta do MTs on the straights, I think, on some tracks at least, to be of that level.
Oh, that's the cutoff. 200, you have to do straight MTs.
I think so.
Yeah,
Okay, so
you might be right.
on average finish, I'm ranked 236th, and Carl is ranked 228th, 8 ranks ahead.
So close. I never knew.
Right. This is a rivalry in the making, huh?
So, Goose, if you play it for a few hours, you will pass me.
Potentially, yeah.
Now.
And Isa Smith is 208th, pretty close to us.
Whoa.
That's already an effort, though.
Just a quick question. What was the reasoning behind the Japanese cartridge?
I think it was just cheaper.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Is there any big differences I have to watch out?
I don't think there are any.
You just get the troll. The sounds of Toad are just annoying.
Right. There may be locational kappa differences. But as for the gameplay itself, I think it's 100% like the NTSC version.
Yep.
There you go. Good stuff.
And the cartridge is prettier, of course.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's a rule, right? The NTSC box, the Japanese box art is almost always better, in my opinion.
I guess that's how you localize from America. You make it more American.
Kappa.
This is where you get to defend your country, Joe.
I'm not going to defend anything.
No, we'll get Harvey on next time to defend that.
Yes, he's the next guest for sure.
Yeah, it'll take 3 hours.
So I really don't want to tag this on at the end, but
Well, can I say something really quick?
I am never gonna get to this. Okay.
We're just trying to avoid the elephant in the room, I guess. I was just going to say, Goose, you have a very good channel on YouTube, obviously. The content is great. I like a lot of your videos. But was there any one video in particular that kind of like, where you quote-unquote launched your YouTube career, if you will?
Well, ironically, it's kind of weird is that, okay, so I guess going back to 2014, I did sort of an impromptu Streets speed lore on stream. It was 20 minutes long. And a lot of people really liked that. I didn't put it on YouTube for about a year. I just had it as a Twitch highlight. And the reason I wanted to do that was so people could understand what went into Ryan Lockwood's Streets 112 and why it was such a big deal, why he was freaking out.
Well,
So I did that. People
113, right?
Well, but there's more to it, right? And as I explained that, and so like I want to explain why skipping 113 was such a big deal. So I did that in 2014. I put it on YouTube in 2015. And then I was kind of in college, I was kind of out of it for a while, for a couple of years. And then when I came back to streaming in 2017, I knew I wanted to do like a full-blown speed lore series. And I did the first episode, which was Frigate, Secret Agent, where I talked about all the splices and Henning Blom, this kind of stuff. And that one got picked up, like Kotaku did an article about it. It immediately went to like 70,000 views, which was way more than I was expecting. And so that blew up, and I was like, holy smokes, the potential of this is insane. And then from there, 2 more videos were the top 5 most stunning instances of degeneracy in GoldenEye. And like that one, it's insane. That one has 170,000 views. I made that one as like a fun joke for the Elite community, basically. I was expecting like 5,000 views, and it has over 160,000. So that one blowing up as much as it did, and then the following speed lore episode, Depot Agent, that one was huge too. Like, so all of this stuff combined, the speed lores and that degenerate video, were probably what launched it and was like, holy smokes, I'm onto something here, and just keep rolling with it.
So it was never a conscious decision then until that point.
Well, I think I wanted to do the speed lore stuff, and then I think at one point last year, I kind of was like, I just got kind of fed up, like my Twitch channel's not growing that much. And like, okay, obviously I'm playing GoldenEye, it's not going to grow that much. But I just wanted to do more than just like play grinding on stream all day and then once a month doing a speed lore episode with a couple other videos sprinkled in. And that's why like in February this year, I'm just like, honestly, I've had enough of playing. Now I'm just going to just do videos. And that's, I don't know, I'm just a lot happier doing it. It's a lot more enjoyable for me. And just what can I say? I feel like it's the right decision entirely. And it's just kind of one thing leads to another, right? But I would say the Streets speed lore is sort of the initial spark to it all. And that wouldn't have happened without Lockwood getting 112.
So you say Lockwood's responsible for your YouTube success?
in a huge way, absolutely.
Cool.
And another tiny piece of the puzzle is also meeting Ari2929 at HDQ 2015. He had just passed like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and was telling me about it and all that kind of stuff. And I had it in the back of my mind that it would be really cool to do. But again, I was like in college and dealing with other personal life stuff, and it took me 2 years to get around to it. But just the people, like the path of your life, it's never like one individual event, right? There's always things that lead you to where you are today.
That's true. That's very true.
Sure. So I'll try desperately for one last segue, huh?
Can I say one more thing? No, I was just...
And I'm hoping for a certain topic, I guess, but we'll see.
Yeah, anal bleach.
Your thoughts?
No, so here's the segue, by the way. Brace yourself. So yeah, that was the start of your well, the transition from Twitch to the start of the YouTube career, right? Soon there's going to be a video coming up on your YouTube channel, correct?
Soon, but it might keep getting delayed with more and more news and world records and stuff. Yeah.
I gotta give the elite community a big 10 thumbs up for keeping it sort of the urgency of the scene. It still seems so alive. They're still untied. I mean, this cradle strat has me baffled. How does this happen 20 years later?
It was so weird because 3 nights ago we're in chat and someone posted the TAS where Henrik stays on the right side of the room and he shoots out the console. But yeah. I looked at him like, why are we running to the left of this thing? Like, what are we thinking? And it clicked. But I know. But anyways, go on. Right, you're right. It's the community is so alive and thriving because of this. And I'm it's kind of honking my own horn. But like,
no, I think you're correct. Yeah, I definitely think you're correct. And when you do the Speedlore thing, and you mentioned like this certain level had 10 ties in this year, and then you go 2015, it had 30 ties, in 2016 it had 50, and then it's sort of an exponential growth just about the time you started doing your stream and YouTube channel. So
definitely,
maybe not hand in hand, but it's definitely impactful. Let's make no mistake about that. So we are from the Mario Kart scene from back in the day, and you are from the Elite scene, and we, like I mentioned, they have sort of parallel stories, but we've been buddy communities, if you will. But there is one significant overlap, and that is the player Steven Schwartz's.
Very much so.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into a whole song and dance. I feel like the dust has kind of settled when it comes to the, the forum topics, the back and forth.
The sort of conclusion.
So that's sort of settled now. So I think we're all just eagerly awaiting your video. That being said, I feel like this story got sort of an, what's the word I'm looking for? Anticlimactic conclusion in the end?
In a way, and I mean, you guys kind of know how it all played out. Like, really, even before I made the Matthias video, like, I've always had these ideas in mind of topics I want to tackle and make videos about. And so stuff like the Hab trio is a great that's always kind of this back burner. I'm going to do that eventually. I have all these, whatever it's GoldenEye, Mario Kart, there are these great stories to be told, and I want to do them justice. And so I always thought about doing a Steven Schwartz story. And so after the Matthias video and was released and people really enjoyed that one, I made that thread of Mario Kart forums, Steven Schwartz is the Todd Rogers of N64. And I thought it was a completely reasonable comparison. And I thought like maybe a few people would post some information. The thread might have 8 or 12 posts. Like, yeah, haha, like these times were never proven. Like, here's some links. That's it. I was never expecting it to become this full-blown, massive investigation that took place over 4 months. And I never expected Schwartz to come back and attempt to sort of prove himself. And when he did, I guess I would say the conclusion that was reached didn't surprise me, but it was a crazy sequence of events.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this. First off, I don't feel like he actually came back and tried. I think he just got his toe in the water, and then it sort of fizzled out, especially now. But he did show up at the Super Mario Kart World Championship in Holland. So he was on his way, I feel, to getting back into gaming. And when the whole removal of times / ban stuff happened, I kept talking to him a bit because he was getting back into gaming, as I mentioned. And then we had a lot of chats, which games, what are you going to do first? I was sort of eager to see where this was going, but now he seems a bit out of it, like he put the brakes on or something.
Let's say, look, I would love nothing more than to see him come back and pull off this strategy and show us. It would be amazing. It would be the coolest story ever. That would be the best story. That would get the most views by far. I want that to happen. But it's clear that this is not the case, and this is not how it played out 15 years ago. This, how do you put it? Okay, a good point. I'm going to collaborate with Carl Jobs on this video as well, because Carl has all these crazy thoughts on it. But something Carl brings up is this. Any rational person in his situation would know, like, okay, this looks really bad on my part. I did this 15 years ago. This happened. But I can understand why no one believes me. I can understand why they're upset. I understand why it looks bad. Most rational people would think that way, and they would kind of behave and react accordingly. But because he gets like so offended that nobody believes him, oh my, you guys are so mean, nobody believes me, that kind of adds credence to the fact that he's a liar trying to defend his lies.
And like I told you in a private chat, I agree. That's how it looks, and to all who looks upon, that's how it is. But me and Carol, having met Steven several times, I cannot share that impression beyond the actual words you read and stuff. It does seem like that. But
there seems to be a big discrepancy between how he posts online and how he behaves offline. And yeah, so when you confront him about this topic in his native language in Dutch, he doesn't. But of course, he doesn't feel attacked by us because we don't maybe openly ask the right questions as you guys do.
No,
so
I'm
we
just
don't press him on the issue enough, maybe. But he certainly does not come across like that, like he does on the Elite Forum.
Have you ever asked him straight up, like, did you perform this strategy and get Aztec Agent 131 in the year 2003?
Have you, Sargov?
Yeah, I did when it was. So Steven visited me back in whichever year, 2009 maybe. So he was very active in gaming from sort of 2007 until 2010 or so. He was the world champion of Trackmania then, before he turned to poker, correct, Carol?
Yeah.
I think this is sort of how things turned out. But during that period, he came to visit me for like a week or maybe longer, and we just played games and had fun, I guess. And then I got sort of drunk and sort of pressed him on the issue about the Luigi Raceway, and which is sort of a similar claim in many ways, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I asked him straight up about the Luigi Raceway, but not about the Aztec. But
no, I asked.
He answered me. Yeah, he did it, but how much does that prove? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. The thing about GoldenEye is, I never took the same interest in the Aztec time. Oh, okay, so let me rewind a bit.
Sure.
The reason I know Steven was because of a topic like this 10 years ago, whatever, maybe more. And I was sort of genuinely curious, did you do this? I'm not trying to put you on the spot or claim you did or didn't. I mean, did this happen? Then cool, we should have a video, but that's sort of it. But then he showed up for the NLG 07, and after that we sort of stayed friends for a while, and just watching him game in that period from 2007 to 10 was an absolute blast in all the games he touched. If it was like a small Flash game or whatever, all the way to the Trackmania stuff. And I was sort of blown away by this guy's unique approach to gaming, because he thinks out of the box in a way I don't know anyone else who does it quite like that. But I never knew enough about GoldenEye to make heads or tails of that claim, to be honest. And Luigi Raceway, he sort of invented a strategy of mini turboing or shrooming into the wall to get sort of a mystery boost, which was revealed some years later, I believe.
Now, did he invent that, or did he claim there was a mystery boost, and then years later the community found it, and it was like, oh yeah, that's what I did? You know, like, we don't really know.
I'm trying to remember if that boost was in the video, the world record he did have.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
No, I don't think so.
So
okay.
Is this just a case of like the Aztec glass finally
the
opening,
hindsight strat.
of him saying, "Oh, this is what I did," and then something resembling that took place, and now he can claim that's what he did. You know?
You know, the sad part, Goose, about this is I can't argue that. That seems sound. I mean, yeah, it does seem that way. But I don't remember exactly how.
And then it's like my question about, okay, I don't doubt that you guys watched him play all sorts of games, Flash games, Nintendo games, and he was great. I don't doubt it. Why is none of this documented in any way? Why are there no videos of like, wow, this is what happened, this crazy, we were all competing for this record and he did it, you know? Why is there no story like the AGDQ 100-meter dash, but now it's Steven Jortis who shows up and gets the record? All I hear is stories. I don't see any evidence of this happening.
Fair enough, but I think there are videos. I mean, I have some on my old hard drives, which I may or may not be able to extract, but that's okay.
It requires also storytelling in a way, which was not around back then. Like we didn't have a Goose in our midst in 2010 or 2008, which
and I understand, but even like forum threads and like this kind of stuff, it's just so lacking in supporting evidence.
It was a different era. I mean, there was some resurfaced videos from the Nintendo World Championship in Holland, but I don't know if it was the one Steven won. Carol, do you?
No, I have no idea.
and it's like, okay, that's fair too, but it's like, okay, for example, I could tell the story, and I did in one of the Aztec Speedlore episodes. It's a sort of non-related story of Ilu and Boss having this rivalry where Boss leaves to play Banjo-Kazooie and Ilu makes fun of him. And we have footage of Boss playing Banjo-Kazooie and getting this single-level record. And this was in 2006. Yeah, not quite the same era as Schwarty's, but an old era. And there's evidence there, right? So it's like, I can point to these other stories where there is evidence for these very small, obscure tidbit side stories. But there's none for... You know, I've seen I've seen his Star Fox 2 hours video. I've seen this stuff that Axel Zackerson uploaded, but it's doesn't support. It supports that he played these games, but not much else.
I mean, I heard you guys say that there's very little video evidence, and I guess that's true today, but that wasn't the case back in the day.
But it's like everything around Schwarty's sort of. When, you know, maybe not at the time in 2001, but when you look back upon it 15 years later, it's like these are sort of all the intentful motions of a liar. You know, he put just enough videos out there to say, you know, oh, I have some videos, people see me play, but there's no videos of what you want to see actually. It's so bizarre how, you know, if you look at the all-time tally of GoldenEye records, he has like 80-something records and 37 untieds. And there are 5 videos that we have of him playing GoldenEye. None of them were world records. But so it's like, why does he have 5 videos of GoldenEye, none of these 80 records that he claims? You know, it just bits and pieces to mislead people enough that they'll believe him.
Yeah, it does fit your narrative, and if that's what you're looking to fill, you will get exactly what you want from Steven, because it just works out that way. And, you know, it could be that way, but it would be a massive shock to me if all of his stuff was lies, for sure.
I think the fact that we are from a Mario Kart background colors the picture a little bit differently from the beginning, because he pretty much has proof for his 1999 Luigi Raceway world record, which was also, if you take it out of the equation, the 158.12 or 14, sorry.
Yeah.
That was done in 2003, which is never really proven apart from the time scroll, which I have some doubts about myself, to be honest. But the 158.65 done in 1999 was far ahead of the curve. And there was a video of it. And by extension, you would tend to believe the other claims he did in Mario Kart 64, because that was the best one of the bunch, right?
Definitely, but like I use the example of like the mountain climbing explorer in the thread, right? Like, you could, I don't doubt that he got that record. and I don't doubt that he was a talented gamer. I doubt these specific claims, and the fact that he's carried on claiming that this is the case. I now I doubt a lot of what he says, right? And so it's like, just because you are really good at something doesn't give you free reign to claim anything you want surrounding it.
No, that's true, but you were talking earlier about the little tidbits, and there was no supporting evidence of that whatsoever, but that would be supporting evidence of at least one tidbit, which is major, because it was ahead of the curve back in the day.
And so the way the narrative has formed is that Schwartes was a good gamer when he was young, and he had some of these great records. And then as he got older, he felt like, you know what, I don't want to bother myself with this anymore. I'm going to make up some crazy times. If, no one believes me, big deal. I'm going to leave anyways. If they believe me, then great. Kind of having a free roll on these lies, right? And so I think that he was really good and did prove sometimes back in '99 and whatnot. And then by 2003, he wasn't playing much, and these were kind of throwaway lies, and just hoping people believe them based on his reputation.
Okay, that's quite possible. Let me just add one small thing to the Luigi Raceway time, because it all seems weird when you read the posts. Like, English is not his strongest suit. Let's put that out there. So Carol, you can speak with him in Dutch. I'm sure that's helpful in some way.
Yeah, it is.
But the Luigi Raceway wasn't the record he was going for. He was posting times or single lap splits that would make up the most magnificent Sherbert-Land 3-lap.
He claimed in that post that was it Carl who posted for him, or was it someone else?
Lars.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So in that post, it claims that Schwartes was warming up for Sherbert-Land. Now, riddle me this, right? If he's so good in 2003 that he gets this Luigi Raceway, 1:58.14 on a warm-up lap while he's trying to warm up for Sherbert-Land, where are his Sherbert-Land records? Why didn't he get those?
Oh, but the same question goes, if he made up the Luigi Raceway, why not just make up the Sherbert-Land while you're at it?
No, of course he could have done that as well, and he just didn't. But there's no evidence to suggest either, right? It's like, if this actually happened and if he was legitimate, you would expect that he would have gone on to play Sherbert-Land. But because it was all made up and it was fantasy, he just got tired with, it is a fair question, why did he stop lying? But it's like, why does anyone stop lying? Why does anyone stop doing anything? It's not an easy question to answer.
No, that was my initial thesis, is that he came back from 99 hiatus to 2003, whatever, and then he realizes, I'm really not on top in these games anymore. Let me just cement my legacy here. I'll figure out what times I can claim without being immediately outed as a fraud. And in that sense, those two claims really on the edge of what you can claim. Like, probably beyond.
Definitely.
And he made those two big claims to be remembered and then withdrew from both communities, whatever. That's sort of what happened, and that's sort of what it looks like, or looked like to many people. I'm certain I was one of those. I did not believe the claims initially. And I'm still on the fence, obviously. Without video, it doesn't really matter what we think at this point, does it? But witnessing him play games really made me respect the guy as a gamer. Never mind the claims or whatever. That's just, yeah.
And I can completely understand. I haven't seen him play, right? So I'm not enchanted that same way. I do find it interesting, though, how you said, like, in 2007 he showed up at some event or whatever.
Yeah, no way.
And that was recently after, like, his claims were being doubted again. So I do kind of find it interesting how he tends to show up when his claims are being doubted, because he knows showing up in person is going to lend him credibility. That's
I think Patrick Wessels was the one who brought him out from hiding. Carol, do you remember this?
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with the topic about the Luigi Raceway questions. I think Patrick
No,
Wessels
no.
just said, hey, there are some retro game tournaments going to be played. Do you want to participate again?
Yeah,
pretty
right.
much why he came.
And he did end up winning the GoldenEye. That's
And the Mario Kart 64.
and
the
one
Street
more.
Fighter.
Yeah, he beat me in Street Fighter. I hate that.
He
But
won
it's like-
3 tournaments.
So this is the other thing, though. Is like you guys talk about these tournaments as if they're these like major international tournaments that are like huge. I don't doubt that there's a lot of good players there, but it's not like he won like some actual world championships sanctioned by Nintendo with tens of thousands of competitors. It's like he won a local tournament with a few
Those did not
thousand guys.
exist back in the day.
No, of course, right? But it's like it's still kind of anecdotal evidence of that is
Oh,
made
I'm not
to sound
trying to
like a bigger
submit
deal
this.
than it is.
No, I'm not trying to submit this as evidence. This is just an experience, and
Yeah,
this
no,
has
no,
nothing
yeah.
nothing to do with the Luigi Raceway at all.
So it's like, again, I don't doubt that he's really good at these games, but I do doubt these specific claims.
As do we.
Yeah,
But you made up your mind, right? You believe he's a liar. I'm still on the fence a little bit, at least.
No, sure, and it's there are so many of things he said and did that are consistent with other liars we've seen. Like on the Elite thread about the Jortis situation, the first post Jortis made in that thread was something, he says, yeah, I'm trying, I've kind of moved on, I'm worried about other things, my family, etc. I'm just an old guy, whatever. And the day that post was made, me and Carl Jobs talked about it, and we're like, he's planting seeds to bail on this later, using the stuff like family, not caring about it anymore. Lo and behold, 2 months later, that's exactly what he pulls, right? These things are very and it is the same thing Todd Rogers pulled. Like, once you've seen this sort of behavior, it becomes very predictable.
I've got no defense.
no,
and it's like I say, like, okay, I obviously don't know either. And I know people are worried, I'm gonna, there was one guy in particular on the Elite thread saying I'm gonna ruin his life and ruin his kid's life. It's like, come on, dude. I always do a pretty reasonable job, I think, of handling these situations. If you watch my video on the Chuya attack ship record, I went into that video fully thinking the time was fake. And by the time I was done the video, I thought, you know what? I'm not sure. And I don't really give my opinion in that video. I kind of leave it open to the viewer. And that's what I plan on doing with Jortis as well. It could be, no, I mean, I just don't think it's possible to go to Aztec 131. It's just,
I know you don't think that.
it's too insane.
Yeah, the Luigi Raceway would still be sort of within the realms of possibility, but the Aztec is starting to become more and more unlikely as more knowledge is, being put into the debate.
And that's maybe why we see it a little bit differently between the Mario Kart and GoldenEye perspective, because in Mario Kart, the more you learn about Luigi Raceway, yeah, it's maybe possible he pulled off the mystery boost. My theory is that he just pretended that was a strategy, the mystery boost. But maybe he did it. But so the more you learn about Mario Kart, the more it sort of becomes possible. But the more you learn about GoldenEye and Aztec, the less his claim becomes possible,
Right.
So I think that's why our perspectives are different on this.
Yeah, the main difference here is the Luigi Raceway is certainly possible. We're talking about whether it or not it was possible that he did it at that point. The Aztec is a bit different. We're talking about if that's at all possible with TAS, and all signs point to no.
Exactly, and it's like some people will say, "Oh, well, 131 happened today, so like."
No.
And like, okay, yeah, he could have used the exact same strategy and the exact same execution that we did for 131 10 years later, but it's so unlikely, and it doesn't match what he's said about it.
Let me just try to phrase this for a second. So I watched I know nothing about Perfect Dark. Attack Carrier, was that the one?
Yeah, attack ship.
Attack ship, right. So I saw that video randomly because I don't really pay as much attention to Perfect Dark videos, but it was a cool episode, and that was like a a Japanese guy with some poor footage, right?
Yep.
So, and that was the roll of the dice. So that is definitely possible, but highly unlikely from an odds perspective, correct?
Exactly, and his evidence isn't necessarily strong enough to make you believe something so unlikely.
Right. So at this point, if there's somehow resurfaced a video in sort of shaky cam footage style of Schwartz's doing 131, would you believe that on face value at this point?
It would go a long way. It would change the story entirely. Like, it would be a huge piece of evidence. And the thing with any evidence is, it's like, it's not necessarily 100% guaranteed you believe that evidence, but it's always something to consider, right? But
I think you proved, I'm using that word wrong, I believe, but you did some splicing as well at some point, right? And that was
correct, yeah.
proof of concept or attempts of deranged man?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, which one of the two were you doing it to prove a point, or
like kind of a combination? Like, you kind of get so angry with something that you want to prove a point. So a little bit of both.
because it would be quite possible to do a one strat. I'm doing air quotes now, by the way. A one guard lower strat. Look behind the what's it called, the console, wherever you hide, and then just splice it with a glass opening.
It would be possible, absolutely. It would be. Yes. Now,
Yeah.
it might not be possible to. There might be something like the guard's end position might be off or something, but like it would be possible to make it passable.
Someone messed up that on Frigate, right, with the gun showing or something.
Yes, that's how Henning was caught after the record was on there for almost 2 years. Yeah. So like,
that's so sad.
When
I mean,
Very observant, I might add.
When Bond leaves the stage, the weapon in the cutscene is the same weapon he was last holding, and if he wasn't holding a weapon, it's the PP7. So in Henning's case, he wasn't holding a weapon when he ended, but then Bond puts away like the Phantom or the D5K, not the PP7. And so like that's as sure of a splice as if in Mario Kart you finish the run with Luigi and like the end screen showing Yoshi. Like, seriously,
Exactly.
it's that, and some but it's not quite as obvious.
Smoking gun, yeah.
It's a smoking gun, but still, the Elite was pretty quiet back then. So for a year and a half, no one detected it until I came back and I knew immediately it was fake. But it's anyways, we're kind of on the point of what is it possible Jortis could splice a video that
no.
So there is not even a video, yeah.
No.
So,
No, that was a
never mind
hypothetical.
Yeah.
Would that even make a difference at this point?
It could. I mean, I don't think at this point it's kind of a long time gone. Like, oh, why didn't this come out earlier? But like, if at some point on this, when I started looking into this in May, if 2 months later Jortis posted some sort of spliced video that we didn't know was spliced and seemed to show his strategy, that would have blown our minds.
Yeah.
Every single person in the community would have tried it nonstop. If it were spliced, it probably wouldn't have worked. And so suspicion still would have been there.
Sure. Because the thing is, I do believe I can get him to keep on trying, which seems so dumb if he made it up back in the day.
It sort of is, but it's like, okay, I still am 3 or 4 videos away from making the Jortis video now. Yeah. But there's still 3 or 4 weeks or more. It's like, could something change? I don't know.
No, right now he's really on a downslope when it comes to gaming. So I would have to spike his interest somehow. So yeah, I don't think you're going to see much progress from his side at this point. And I kind of hope he doesn't post anymore, because that's doing him no favors in any direction.
And I'm not expecting him to, miraculously show up. I kind of think it is the end of the saga, and I'm kind of treating it as such, unless something else ends up happening, right? I'm not waiting on anything now.
No, right.
That makes sense.
Right. I just think I mean, there's been some flack back and forth, some less than charitable utterings in regards to Stephen. But yeah, I have complete confidence that your video will be in good taste.
Yeah,
And
same.
all the stuff about his family and friends going to shit because of the video. I don't think anyone. I think Carol said this in the topic as well. Nobody actually holds that position. That's just
Nah.
I think
bit of
there's
a
I think
meme.
there's one guy who does.
Yeah, there was one post, but I don't even have
I mean,
who that guy is.
even if you were a complete jackass about this and did went out to destroy his reputation,
Yeah,
you
no.
still not have that power because his employer is not even gonna, care, right? So
Exactly,
whatever.
Yeah,
and nowadays, like so many people have bad shit that's lies written about them online, right? Like, I know it's absurd, and I would end up looking bad, and I obviously don't want to do that.
no, right. Okay, should we try closing the door on
Yeah.
this? This topic could go on, but at this point, it's just
Nah. It resolved around its own momentum.
I think so, yeah.
I have one quick question, which doesn't interrupt the Sargot segue this time. I've noticed that in your videos, your production values are rapidly increasing.
Yeah.
Is that just you acquiring more skills, or are you getting help from software-savvy friends?
I'm definitely not having anyone help me really. A few months ago, I did go buy a subscription to like a stock footage place. So there's some stock footage I can use, plus a lot of the backgrounds and stuff I've kind of made using those pieces. So that helps a lot. And then just every now and then I'll like search for a tutorial how to do something, which helps a bit. So I mean, it's good that it's noticeable that it's improving, but like I don't think it's improving that quickly, to be honest. So you can always do more. But yeah, that's all me still at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's coming up in a nice way. There used to be a lot of spinning goose logos or whatever I'm going to call those. Now there's like more small clips. There's more sound effects. I actually quite enjoy the sound effects more than I should, I think. Just old chest openings from Zelda or whatever it is. Sometimes it's just so enjoyable.
Exactly, but the thing is, now I'm worried that I'm going to overuse all these sounds. I need more sounds, right? So you're always a challenge that's hard to get ahead of.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Do you plan on expanding in a way to have like a sub channel or people helping you out, or do you just want to do your own thing and just?
I've entertained the idea of like separating Speedlore onto its own channel because I kind of feel like those ones are never going to be like the viral million view videos, right? They're always going to have their own fan. But then I think really a lot of it is like I look at PewDiePie. He doesn't separate anything. It's just all his channel. When he does an hour-long let's play of a game, he keeps on his main channel, even though nowadays he's more known for, the meme 10-minute videos. And so if the biggest YouTuber in the world does it that way, I think it's reasonable to follow that path,
Do you want to be a follower?
Well, no, I mean, but it's like you learn what if the best person in this field does it this way, it's probably for a reason.
I usually have a strong divide between best and most successful. Those are not the same things to me. I have seen a bit of PewDiePie, and I find it, it's not my cup of tea.
No.
I
channel was better.
I think the thing with him is that because he's been number one for so long, it really shows that he's doing something right. A lot of people, there's that old saying, getting to number one takes a lot of work. Staying there takes even more, And he stayed there for
Daigo's quote.
he stayed there for like five years. So he obviously is a master of the game. And I think it's worth considering all the things he does very strongly.
I mean, in Norway, this is a backwards ass country in terms of technology and stuff like that. He got he got hugely known here because of the whole Nazi thing. If
Yeah.
you recall the controversy,
Yeah.
that was on the news in Norway and stuff, and then he just gains a bunch of followers because of that. The controversy, I mean, and that's not a surprise that controversy sells.
No, it's a very old trick.
It's but it's like when you watch him and see the controversy, he doesn't set out there to make controversy. You know, it's like it just kind of happens. He's just a man of the internet, and I can relate very strongly to him because I grew up the same way, just online all the time, and you kind of have the same upbringing in terms of what jokes you find funny. And,
Oh, sure, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's what can you say? There's obviously a lot of the newer guys who get more daily views are the vloggers and look at my merch and look how cool I am, right? And he's not like that at all. He's an internet guy, so I respect it a lot.
He's a bit of a pioneer in that sense, that's for sure.
But I mean, you know, like you originally got to this point with, it's like, am I gonna do sub channels? I think like right now, no. I'm just gonna just keep the momentum rolling with RWhiteGoose and see where we go.
Right, I do agree with the thought about splitting the speed lore into separate sort of thing, because I'm in a very different mood watching your 20 minutes this just happened type videos and the 2.5 hours this is how degeneracy evolved the last 20 years in this level.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And my hope is that eventually I'll get to a point where I'll be doing more than 2 or 3 or 4 videos a month. I'll be doing like 10 or 15, and then the monthly speed lore will be kind of its own separate thing, and people will know, like, it's not gonna be, it'll be like a special treat as opposed to a main kind of content.
Sure. So I say we wrap it up. I think think I'm way overdue to get back to the wrench duties of my life. So I just want to thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on the show. It's been a surprisingly good chat, and I don't mean that in a bad way, about everything from fucking hockey to the gaming of the 90s.
Definitely, it was a great chat with you guys. You know, we all come from the same place online, similar, and you know, we can all get along, and it was certainly a very interesting chat today, so thanks for having me.
All right.
And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Anytime, guys. I'd love to do it again sometime, so thank you.
So meanwhile, I'll speak on the behalf of everyone in the Arthritis Society, I think, when we look forward to your video on several topics. Goose?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always great content. I have to admit, I'm usually pretty enthralled by any video you make.
Well, thank you very much, and like I say, you know, be patient because I have a slate of other stuff to make before, you know, the Jortis stuff in particular. So
there's two
who
videos
knows what will happen.
Two videos I want to push for is the Eric Habrich trio that I really want to see you cover, and of course Terrence Venner.
Oh, the Fenner.
Fenner. Well, and one just before we leave, another interesting one would be Miles Burkham, because
of course,
the Antelope of Death.
He was in the if he peaked with his stuff in 2013 as opposed to, you know, early 2000s, he could have been one of the most famous speedrunners, you know, achievement guys in history, and he's just a man in the wrong time. Yeah, no, exactly.
But something happened, huh?
Well, yeah. That's an episode to look forward to.
Sure.
Yeah, looking forward to that too. All right, that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you later.
No, see ya.
Yeah. Bye.
Stay true.